Namaste to everyone. Good evening. So I welcome you all for this lecture series with Dr. Vladimir. Today is our third day, and
There was a break of the sound. I couldn't
Yes.
hear.
Deviji, I think it is connection problem, Deviji.
Well, then maybe I
No,
will.
I think, yeah. So I would request Vladimir ji, because students, they are aware and they have listened to you in previous lectures. And right now we are discussing on Indian knowledge system. And uh, without wasting time, I request Vladimir ji to, take that discussion forward, please. Vladimir ji.
Right. Thank you, Kiranji. So I will make a projection and of the um, of that what we did before. So the last time we looked into Sankhya and the vision of the Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas and Tanmatras and Mahabhutas. This is the vision of the major vision of Indian philosophy, which you find in all darshanas and in all systems, in Tantra and Puranas and Mahabharata and in the Gita. Everybody is following this vision of tattvas, of Sankhya. But there was pre-Sankhyaik paradigm, and this is something interesting just to mention. So in the pre-Sankhyaik paradigm, there was no vision of Manas being in charge of the Indriyas, but there was Manas is the mind, sense mind, who is providing the concentration in particular field of the action of any indriya, yeah, or any faculty of consciousness. But there were mentioned three major dvandvas. We find them in the Upanishads. And these are manas and vak, chakshuch and shrotram, and prana and apana. They are through all Upanishads. You just take any Upanishad, open the page, put your finger, and you will find something about these six. It's quite interesting, except maybe Isha Upanishad. The rest are constantly speaking about these six faculties. So about mind and speech, about seeing and hearing, and breathing in and breathing out, or prana, the breath force, or the vital force, vital energy, life energy, and the breathing out which creates or manifests the physical body, annam. Annam is nothing but the embodiment of prana. Yes, it's animated matter, matter which is charged with living force. Now, if I locate them in the way as these dvandvas go, so you can see that manas and vak on one side, they are opposites in a way, the chakshuch and shrotram and prana and apana. You could see also a very interesting thing about these six, that two of them, shrotram and vak, belong to the faculty of hearing and speaking, whereas speaking is active and hearing is more perceptive. Yeah, hearing to hear you have to stop speaking, otherwise you would not hear much. So you stop speaking and you penetrate with something, some attention of your consciousness into the space, catching every vibration. And when you catch every vibration, you hear. Yeah? So when people listen to the music, they become totally still, immobile. Why? Because they want to catch every vibration coming from music. The same when they listen to somebody's speech very attentively. they stop even making notes within their mind. They're just registering the vibrations. So Shrotram, hearing, is perceptive, whereas Vak is active. When we vibrate, when we express ourselves forward, yes. So they are like within one domain or within one approach to knowledge, Shrotram and Vak. On the other hand, you can see Chakshukh is again perceptive faculty, seeing. When we see, we also become kind of very passive in our activity. We want to see. We are concentrated. We are holding the space, the object of sense, and try to receive as much as we can. And when the seeing becomes active, if it is possible to imagine active seeing, then we imagine or we think. We move the images. We start moving the images, and that is the faculty of the mind. So the mind thinks in two particular major forms of thought. There are only two types of thought. One is the images. We think by the images. We imagine, we see things. We see how it could be, or something. And that is the projection in the mind, active seeing, or this thinking by the words. And many people think by the words. And you can see sometimes people speak to themselves. It is because otherwise they cannot even think. They have to put it into words, otherwise they don't know what they are thinking about. So thoughts are kind of reflected in the words. So there are only two types of thoughts which are visiting us. One is images, other is words. And combination of both. Of course, there is something else, and that is sensation as we see it here. Yeah? So, and that is prana and apana, the very force of the spirit, in the sense of the living experience. We get the feeling of something. We feel ourselves in a different status of consciousness. And feeling oneself in a different status of consciousness is nothing but the experience of prana. Now, it's quite interesting that these, on the left side, manas and chakshukh, the mind and seeing, they are kind of reflecting the form, rupam. On the right side, Shrotram and Vak, they actively engage us in the form of nama, name. Nama and Rupa. These two are constantly mentioned in the Brahmanas and later in the Upanishads. And it is said in the Shatapatha Brahmana that Brahman itself, the spirit, could embody in this world, come to this world, to this manifestation, through these four: Manas, Chakshukh, Shrotram and Vak. These are the four pillars on which Brahman is standing. Yes, I can't hear you, Kiranji.
So, Vladimirji, is it all right if I ask in between?
Very good. Please do it all the time.
Okay. So you said Shotram and Vak, it is Nama, and Manas and Chakshu is a Rupa.
Yes.
Why we have given this name Nama and Rupa? Because I have heard that in grammar also we use this word Nama. Noun, is it noun or what is that actually?
Nama is the name. Yeah, name means, if you look at every object, for example, this. Yes, I already played this game once. What do you see? I would ask, and you say telephone or mobile. And I would ask you, why? How do you know that this is the mobile? Yeah. You say you see. It's not true. You see something. You see this, some square black, something written, and then you figure out from some other part of consciousness, oh, this is the mobile. And what mobile tells you that I can actually activate it, I can type and send the message, I can call and talk. That's what mobile tells you. It doesn't tell you by seeing what it does. You see something, and this is one part. You see the form, rupam, and then you know how to use this rupam in action, and that is nama. Name reveals the secret usage of the form. Name reveals the power what this form represents and how it can interact with any other being. So this is these are two major faculties of consciousness, seeing and hearing, speaking and thinking. And Sri Aurobindo speaks about them, that they are major faculties of consciousness, seeing and hearing, and there are no others. And you can see that if you can compare with prana and apana, which is one more third lineage, third access to reality through feeling, emotion, sensation, and the body consciousness, as an embodied, that I feel my body, I feel myself separately from other beings, and that is apana, breathing out, or embodied pranic energy. My life force is embodied in this form, and I am aware of it, aware of my own form. Then you can see that three major approaches to reality. On one side we have visual, yes, this manas and chakshuk. On the other, hearing, audio, and the final one is touch. And there are only three particular realities to accesses to reality, and we know it from educational psychology. There are only three types of people: tactile, visual, and audio people. People who receive better through hearing, people who receive better through seeing, they must see, otherwise they don't understand, and people who receive understanding through touch, they must touch. There are even kids in the school who cannot really understand what is 2 plus 2 is 4. They have to touch for and then they understand.
Okay.
So you can see clearly that we have basically three accesses to reality, and there are no more. What was your question again? Can you just again
So,
put it?
yeah, so you said that Sotram and Vak, they come under Nama, and Manas and Chakshu, they come under Rupa.
Yes.
Why
Why?
this kind of division?
Yeah, because there is nothing else. There is only form and the usage of this form, so to say. In this reality, there is no other. No, if you look at this, that's why I was doing this mobile, and that yeah. How do we know that this is mobile? We know it because we fix our consciousness through manas, by the way, on the form. That's why you hold on to it, and then you figure out how this form relates, and that is nama, which is not visible in the form until it is doing something. So this is more complex. It goes deeper than it looks like. These are not only two major faculties of consciousness, but they are also miraculous faculties. We are taking them for granted. We think that seeing and hearing is something, how to say, ordinary. It's not ordinary at all. If you just for a second think about it, that we all can see and hear, understand. And these two correspond also to two major cognitions. One is apprehensive cognition, we cognize the form, and the other is comprehensive, we understand the form. So nama is responsible for understanding the form. Form has to be cognized as different from other forms, as something in itself, as the being, the body, and the other one, the part, is to understand how this form interacts, interwoven into the tapestry of relations with other forms, what it can do, how it can behave, what to expect from it, and so on and so forth, how to use it. That is not visible in the form. That has to be figured out by something else, by other comprehensive cognition. And then finally the very being, and that is the body, with its own sense, with its own feeling. It's quite remarkable, this kind of vision. Here I put translations also for these. I split them also into triangles. One is the triangles of fire. In the Vedic terms, it will be Agni, Vayu, and Surya. These word Vak, Prana, and Chakshuh. And it's quite interesting because these three fires represent three essences of our physical, vital, and mental being. And when these three energies of our physical, vital, and mental being, of our Vak, Prana, and Chakshuh, come together, they are the sacrifice is fulfilled. Yeah. So we become one when our will, our heart, and our mind become one. We are united, composed. Then the divine can, the consciousness can shine through us. All the problems we have in our psychology is that we are divided. Our will, our heart, and our mind are doing different things. Yeah. Not to say that we speak one thing, we think another thing, and we feel something else. And this is constantly happening. It's not just something once in a while taking place. It is something we got used to be dispersed. And we have to compose ourselves back. And so these three have to be united. And these other three are the triangle of water, or soma. It is the space, Shrotram. This is the manas, the soma, what it is called in the Upanishads. His heart broke forth from the heart, the soma, and from soma the moon came into being. Manas, and from the manas soma, or the moon, came into being. So soma, space, and finally the embodied waters, these apas, or the body, the embodiment. So you can see Agni Soma, constant Dvandva in the Veda. Yeah. So I'm just giving you a sense of how Veda viewed it. Vedic paradigm is even more ancient than Upanishadic. Yeah? It is from the beginning of time. So it is believed that fire receives the input. Fire always constantly consumes the soma, the food, and by this consuming soma, there is life taking place in this universe. Yeah? So there is an energy which consumes the body and constantly transforms the form of our body. And we can see nothing in this universe is static. Everything is being constantly changed. Our body, even now sitting here, is constantly in the process of change. It is being consumed by the energy. New forms are born, old forms are consumed. We are constantly changing, growing, and dying. And again and again. Dying, that means one form changes into the other form. But there is a preservation of energy. Energy is being preserved. The form is being changed. So here, these two triangles. Yeah? But behind them, of course, there are faculties. And today I wanted to talk about these faculties. These miraculous, unbelievable faculties. What is this seeing and hearing, speaking and thinking, feeling and being in the body. It would be interesting for us to think about our instruments of knowledge in modern terms, not only in the terms of philosophy or psychology, ancient philosophy. These are only tools for us to become aware of our possibilities, of our capacities, and how to use them, and how to... We are constantly using these capacities in faculties and know very little about them. So what would be your view? What is the difference between seeing and hearing, for example? How would you define the difference? I'm just already putting questions forward to the students.
May I say something,
Yes,
sir?
please.
Yeah, I connect these things with one of the sloka of the scripture, Drik Drishya Vivekam, that
Yeah.
Rupam Drishya Lochanam Drik Drashta Dikta Manasam and Drashta Bhi Vrittaya Shakshi.
You see, so lovely. And you will find so many references to it, that the seeing and the manas are related, and there is a certain relation, very clear, that because manas is nothing but the holding of the image, yeah, onto particular... You hold the consciousness on a particular image of things, and that is the major faculty of manas, which is absolutely necessary for any seeing, for any focusing, for any witnessing. Yes? So mind is present within witnessing. The Sakshi is the one who uses that power of focusing and holding and concentrating and witnessing. Yeah? For witnessing, concentration is needed, and that is the power of the manas within the chakshu. So I'm just speaking out of the kind of thinking or deconstructing these faculties, but would be lovely to to make a difference between seeing and hearing. What would be... How would you define, if not students? If students are there, would be lovely. What is, according to you, the difference between seeing and hearing? You have to look inside and see the difference. When you see what happens and when you hear what happens, are two different things. Very, very distinctly different things. It's not the same consciousness. Though physically it can be described as if it is the same action of consciousness, because we perceive the vibration of light and vibration of sound, yes? So you say, okay, it's the same vibration, only different frequencies, but ear does not see. It is sensing the vibration. The eye somehow receives and sees the image of some kind. Of course, we can say through ear you can come to the image, and through image you can come to the understanding, both ways. And that is absolutely true, because all these faculties are calling one to the other. Once you see, you immediately start trying to understand what it is. If I show you something, you see first, and then you switch that hearing or that vast comprehensive cognition to understand how this thing can be used and what it means. So usually this is the process. First we see, and then we our comprehension, our understanding is a bit delayed. It's always catching up with what we see. But sometimes it's just the opposite. You have an idea or sense or meaning, and then you want to embody it in form. Consciousness is so beautiful and so complex and so simple also. If you look at this paradigm of the Upanishads, if you look at this paradigm in the Sankhya, it's a bit different. It's more mental. Mind is dominating. Here, mind is one of the faculties. He is not dominating the others. Mind is not dominating hearing or seeing or word. Even more, Sri Aurobindo says that the word in the Veda is seen as the parent of the idea. Parent, not the token of the idea. Nowadays we see the word is only expressing some concept or some idea, some thought. Thought is major, the word is secondary. In the Veda it's just the opposite. The word is major and the thought is secondary. The formation was created by the self-expression of the spirit, which is the word. The word creates the world, creates all the forms. The sound, the first om, the vibration manifests itself in the meaning, manifests itself in all the forms. Artha and Shabda as later. What you were asking why these two also, Kiranji. And here we have this Artha on one side, Manas and Chakshuk, and Shabda, the word. And in linguistic terms it's very important, signified and signifier. Yeah? Here they are. Signified is Manas and Chakshuk, signifier is Shrotram and Vak. The word is signifier, the form which is signified is the form, the being, the body. And between them there is something, the spirit, which holds them together, that sign which holds two possible and the only two possible relations of consciousness, the object of sense and sense. These two. We have, you see, we have everything within one scheme. Of course, when we start thinking that what is really happening to our consciousness and our being, how we exist, how we function. This is the wisdom of Upanishads, and I would really encourage all the students to study Upanishads. You will gather a lot of knowledge from there, but you must be also active, proactive. You have to inquire for yourself. You have to put questions forward. Don't take everything for granted, because then you learn nothing. You have to question the knowledge of the Upanishad. Put it into doubt, as it were, and then check on yourself, and then you will discover something marvelous. So today I wanted us to look into these faculties. Of course, I have much bigger presentation behind on where these faculties are generated from, because when we say seeing and hearing, speaking and thinking, we already assume that we understand what these are, but we, truly speaking, do not know what they are. We don't know what seeing or hearing is, truly speaking. And they are generated by the secret operations of consciousness and coming into this particular formation or action of consciousness, which we call seeing or hearing. Yeah?
I can see here psychology, philosophy, language, all the three things together in this.
Yes, and linguistics, everything comes together. Yeah. That's why there was only one knowledge in the Upanishads. They were not splitting it into the psychology, philosophy, linguistics, sociology. Everything is put together because these are the fundamentals of our consciousness. And our consciousness manifests everything in the world, all the possible relations, which we later already spell out in terms of subjects. And even in terms of subjects, if you look at them, if one of these are dominating, like speech, the faculty of language, as it were, to express oneself, you will find that linguistics and, philology and other forms which it creates, such as literature and poetry and so on, they are basically the manifestations of this particular faculty of consciousness. If it would not be there, these forms would never come into existence. Or if I take another, like manas or chakshuk, you will see it, seeing all things, how things relate, how they come together into one particular vision, is something which philosophy is dealing with. How you see things, how they relate, how they constitute one mosaic of things, how all these bodies, these selves, come together within one self. Yeah? What is there as such? Yeah? That is the philosophy. We learn about this world and ourselves as such, without influencing it from what we want it to be. We want to see it as the truth manifested. And then manas, which is more active, subjective self-knowing, as it were, because there you operate by the images, is the sense of how we perceive ourselves, how we focus our consciousness on any object of sense and identifying with it and know it by identity through ourselves. So to say, identifying, inbringing apprehensive cognition. And that manifests in the form of psychology, knowing oneself and knowing everything around ourselves as a oneself. So it is constant identifying and constant knowing oneself through these tools and instruments of knowledge. And Shrotram is how everything is related in terms of energies and actions upon each other, vibrations, how all these vibrations interact in a meaningful fashion. And that is what we know as sociology, because sociology is nothing but how all the units relate in the meaningful fashion within the bigger unit. Yeah. And on the scale of time, you will have a history and the development of these relations on the scale of time is history and sociology. They come together. Sociology more synchronic approach, and history is more diachronic approach. Yeah? So to say, more dynamic. Whereas sociology is more static, taking things as such, concepts. And then we have feeling, and which is more art, like subjective art, creativity, how we create the forms which exist by themselves and have the sense of beauty, feeling, emotion. And finally, the body. The scientific approach, how things are in the body, in the material embodiment, finally. Physics, chemistry, and so on. How nature exists as such. So you could see that these faculties determined our domains of knowledge. These domains are not something abstract. They didn't come from nowhere. They came from the application of the faculties of consciousness. Yeah, that's what we can perceive there, how consciousness manifested these forms. And that's how we can know them, because these formations, these domains are coming from the action of consciousness and are the result of the action of consciousness. So that's how we can know them. Otherwise we would not know anything. It would be only a fake idea of something. It's not so. It's true knowledge. We can know things. So here I have another PowerPoint presentation which gives you an overview of the development of these faculties. The thinking, if I take thinking, you would see what kind of skills or what kind of faculties you can develop through these movements of consciousness. Concentration is the first very powerful and most important faculty of thinking. Silencing the mind, so the mind becomes attentive and powerful for concentration. Why silencing is important? Because then you are capable of concentrating. These two come together. So you can see I just listed out of the blue all possible kind of important activities within one faculty. Brainwave activity control. Now they have these particular, in US, you should have them in India also. You put on your head and you can control waves. You can go into alpha, beta waves, and so on, By changing the state of consciousness, you can see on the screen onto which level you are moving with your state. It's a very interesting game. I would suggest to play this game and to learn about your states of consciousness. Thought management by will also. And then thinking skills. There is a whole list of them, as you see. Rational, logical, dialectical, analytic, synthetic, pragmatic, systematic, strategic, tactic, holistic, divergent, convergent, conceptual, symbolic, creative, intuitive, and so on. So these are many different ways of how we can think, thinking skills, which we must develop. Yeah. And intuitive, I put the last one because we are arriving in that intuitive, immediate perception of things, immediate opening to the truth which is taking place, while these other ones are very, very kind of laborsome. Yes, there is a lot of action has to be analytic or synthetic or pragmatic. These are viewing, thinking from different angles.
That slide, I think I'm not able to see. I'm seeing that the same slide. If
Oh,
you can.
oh, so sorry. I thought I was. Let me share it again. Somehow it doesn't give me the.
You are not host?
Is it visible now?
Yes, now. Yes. This is better. Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, memory, visual, all kind of oral, tactile memory, memory of the touch, yeah, all kind of motor skills, and semantic memory, visual memory. Visual memory will come in the visual, in the eye. Speed in thinking, syntactic semantics for the linguists. It's kind of archetypal thinking. And state of mind, openness, receptivity, flexibility, plasticity of the mind. These are the faculties we would have. How to become a psychologist, how to be able to identify and to concentrate one's consciousness on any object of sense, and bring it in and feel it within oneself, know it by identity. Knowledge by identity is the major faculty of mind. Now we can develop the different disciplines through this for the faculty of thinking. That is discipline of concentration, yoga. Yoga sutras of Patanjali are nothing but the development of this faculty of concentration. Yeah? So how to gather the force to be able to focus one's mind on one particular object or subject, dharana, which is turning into dhyana, which is turning into samadhi. Samadhi is the culmination of that concentration. So psychological approach to knowledge, mathematics, chess, programming, all these are skills which can be helpful for this development of the mind. Methods of memory skills development. There was somebody coming to Auro University who was showing us how he developed his memory, phenomenal memory. There is a way to develop it. Methods of brainwave activity I already mentioned. Methods of mental will development, high-speed reading. And then there is seeing. Seeing is apprehensive cognition, noticing, discriminating of the image origin, mental, vital, physical seeing, conceptual seeing, developing physical sight, shapes, colors, periphery, volume, size, detail, perspectives, composition. This all seeing. The cognition of edges, spaces, relationships, lights and shadows, thing itself, beauty and harmony is also within the seeing. Holding the image of things with all the details in the mind, this kind of photographic memory, yes, here photographical memory, which you can develop, like you make a snap and then you see inside the same you saw outside until you totally develop this faculty. Drawing in the mind, creating the image of things with the details in the mind, learning different languages of forms, abstractions, realism, symbolism, geometry, and so on. How to become a philosopher, a visionary, to see things as they are. So there are certain kind of activities which we can involve with. Drawing, sculpture, graphics, photography, cinematography, geometry, design, methods of peripheral vision. You can develop peripheral vision in a particular exercises of body awareness exercises. Methods of photographical memory development, philosophical approach to knowledge. So you see, I'm going far beyond just seeing. I'm taking seeing as the faculty of consciousness, which can have its application in many different activities. Hearing. Now, hearing is totally another dimension, capacity. Awareness of many in one and one in many. This is hearing. Awareness of how things relate to each other. Recognizing and comprehending the intentions and vibrations from different domains of consciousness. And here's other domains: transcendental, supramental, universal, intuitive, mental, vital, physical, social, individual, macrocosms, microcosms. You have all kinds of interactions through hearing, through comprehension. Recognition of intentions, context, vibrations, and their interactions. And this is recognition of intentions is a very important thing. When somebody speaks to you something, you have to figure out what the intention is, why the person says what he says. Usually we listen to the words, we are not listening to the intentions, but there is always an intention behind. In our linguistic department in St. Petersburg University, we had the course which was called the text and the presumption and the presumptions in text. Yeah? So every text has a particular presumption, presupposition, which is like an intention, which is not immediately recognized. You cannot see it. Only when you train yourself to hear it, that presumption in the text, it can create in you understanding why the person says what he says. Sometimes it's not very clear in the words, and it is sometimes not even clear to the person who says it. Because he feels to say it, but he is not aware totally of it. But if you are aware of this faculty, you can figure out what person wants and help person to understand what he wants to convey. So, and so on. You see, you can develop the hearing comprehension through singing, playing, composing music and songs. Music is one of the most important faculties or domains to develop the faculty of hearing. Playing songs or singing, also the development of the voice, particularly of vibrations in the voice, and so on. Speaking, it's another huge faculty. Recognition of intention in the context is what I was mentioning, sort of speech, how to express what you really want to express, to learn expression of intentions and states of consciousness on different levels. Again, all the levels, from transcendental to our physical level. Research for an identity of name and form, nama and rupa. That means also the signified and signifier, this linguistic research. What we express and how we express it. Yeah? Semantic, syntactic and pragmatic approaches to languages. The difference between language and speech, I'm not writing it here, but I should mention it. That is very important for linguistic studies. Communication skills in different languages. And not only verbal languages, but also other languages, body language, dance language, art language, music language. Yeah? Any other language one can express oneself through. I can, through my dance, through my look, I can express something and communicate something. Communication skills, yeah, or also art of self-expression, also non-violent communication skills also we can learn through. Hymns and mantras and highest forms of word, and how to become a linguist. Of course, national languages, to learn your own language and other languages. Sanskrit I would recommend to everyone immediately, because this is the mother tongue for all our languages, and it has a structure, original structure of which is perfectly built. Yes, the very grammar is the way which will help our mind to become aware of the capacity of our self-expression. Linguistically approach to knowledge, linguistical approach to knowledge, oratory skills, writing skills, poetry, prose. Can you imagine we could learn to express ourselves in poetic skills, in poetry? We can speak to each other in poetry. So theatrical speech also oratory skills, how to deliver the public speech. Yeah? All these are the faculties which are necessary to develop. Writing skills, without which we are not totally developed human beings. Now I'm coming to prana, to the vital. The whole set of skills here, yes? How to deal with our emotions, dealing with stress, fear, anger, lust, greed, desire, dealing with positive emotions also. Purification of vital being, of our feelings and sensations, developing capacities and control over vital powers, control over emotions, how to become an artist, to become creative person who puts his vital energy into the creation. Psychology of art and culture as forms and fields of vital expression. Breathing skills, techniques. Also it belongs to this particular, how to breathe and how to create the vital state within oneself, yeah? Proper, well balanced. Variety of practices of vital purification, yogic treatments of vital disorders, artistic approaches to knowledge. And finally the body. And the body, the awareness of the body in movement. We have many different techniques, Tai Chi for example, or how to keep the awareness in the body while moving. Developing body capacities, sports, plasticity, flexibility, endurance, how to deal with our habits and desires, inertia, illnesses in the body, and so on. Mastering instruments, material instruments, mechanisms, learn skills, bicycle driving, swimming, and so on and so forth. So it has a vast variety of the developmental skills. So here we are. We can do many things in the body, of course, and we know about this, the sports, all kinds of sports. And yogic approach to the body development, that means yoga, hatha yoga. Nutrition is a big topic, what to eat. And scientific approach to knowledge. So here we see, I'm just listing it for you to think about these faculties a bit different, not in terms of that you know what thinking is. It is not only thinking, there is much more to thinking, which one has to develop and deal with these faculties. So I wanted to make it a little modern, and that's why I created this presentation for you to widen the scope and understanding of your faculties. Now, if you have questions or you want to share something or something is not clear, please go ahead. Or there is something here in question and answer.
They all are in panelist, so directly they can unmute themselves and they can ask the question.
Okay, that's lovely. There is one question here. How are consciousness and spirituality related to each other? They are related directly. Spirituality is consciousness. There is no spirituality without consciousness, and there is no consciousness without spirituality. Spirituality is a term which allows us to deal with consciousness as if directly, bypassing the faculties, as it were, or to imagine that we could. It's a term. Spirituality is a term which means that you will deal with your consciousness. And there is no other spirituality. It's not something you leave the world and go somewhere beyond, You deal with consciousness, and that is spirituality. I don't see them as different even. But some people try to make the difference between them and tell us that spirituality is something far beyond, something, you have to disappear somewhere, and that is spirituality. It's not true at all. Not true according to the Upanishads, not true according to the Gita. Spirituality is here, now, in this body, within these faculties of consciousness, is taking place right now. When you are listening to it, thinking about it, doing any activity, you are doing the spiritual activity. The whole world is nothing but manifestation and enterprise of the spirit, Brahman. There is no other world. It is the spiritual world. There is something in the chat. Good evening. Good evening. Okay. I hope I don't intimidate you with these big words. These are just words. But behind them there are some activities which can be activated. And if you are interested to know how you are, who you are, and how you function, and what it is all about, then you must engage and learn about your faculties. There is no other way to know. And it is the closest to you. You already inherit them. You have them. You don't need to go somewhere to learn about them. They are already with you right now. So you can learn how they function on the spot.
Vladimirji, I'm just wondering, because you have written Faculty of Consciousness,
Yes.
uh, and in that you have written thinking, and in that you have written silencing the mind.
Right.
So it seems like it appears like contradiction, because when you are thinking, you're developing thinking skills. How do you silence your mind?
Well, silencing the mind is making mind more capable of concentrating. Yeah? So, as we know it from Yoga Sutras also, yes, before you come to dharana, you will have to do pratyahara. You have to move away all your senses and control them totally and actually become silent. The best thinkers actually are capable of silencing the mind, because in that moment when they use silence, you become capable of really perceiving something, noticing something which is true, yeah, which is important for thinking. Thinking without silencing is just an automatic activity which leads nowhere. We need to focus. Mind is not only kind of thinking, it is more concentrating on a particular topic or particular image of things. That capacity to focus and to hold it is the major capacity which leads to thinking. Thinking is nothing but really focusing. And so once you're focused, all other things rearrange themselves in accordance with that focal point. And that's what we call thinking. But truly speaking, the central part is concentration. And for the concentration, we need mind to be free from the buzzing, disturbing thoughts. The mind should not catch anything, whatever flies through, and follow it. Yes, it needs to hold on to one particular uh, image or object which it wants to know, and from there the knowledge arises. So,
Thank you, Vladimirji. Actually, I was just thinking that how to integrate this, because this is very beautiful, you know, notion. I mean, beautiful way of thinking that I mean, even in poetry also, first it is kind of a overflow of powerful feeling, and then you really want to see when you sit and write, actually you change a lot because you think very silently, and you think very in a tranquil way you think. So it is very important. But day-to-day learning, when students are in the class, I'm thinking about teaching and using in teaching. So how to integrate that silencing the mind as well as doing the activities of developing thinking skills.
right, right. Silencing the mind doesn't mean that to become, sleepy, and it's absolutely not the case. Yeah, it's just the opposite. Silencing the mind is to bring all the capacity of the mind to the most active state, actually. So when the mind is not disturbed by thoughts and focused and concentrated, it is in a way silent. So it looks like contradictory, but if you start practicing it, you will see that they go hand in hand. It's like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
We're just naming them differently, silencing and concentrating. You cannot silence the mind without concentrating. It just won't work. You need some focus, and then it will silence itself. Yeah, there was some question here, sir. One of the yamas talk about being content with what one has. If one is content with what one has, how will one grow in life then? Content doesn't mean that you will not grow in life. content means that you have more capacity and energy to grow in life, actually. So it's all about energy. If you are very disturbed and you want very much something, that want can be very active and actually not bad to have very strong aspiration to achieve something. But that strong aspiration becomes also the very obstacle for you achieving it, yeah? Because that energy which you generate actually removes all other, how to say, all other options for you to use to achieve your aim. So because when you are content and when you're silent, you will see that there are many, many options which may help you to achieve your aim. Now, instead of using them, you're cutting them off with your energy to achieve the aim, the goal, and you're becoming like this horse, running only onto the one thing. And then you don't see that the whole world around you, all other properties and instruments of consciousness could help you to achieve it much easier without losing energy. So you can break through and have it at the end, but it won't be the thing which would be harmonizing your life with the aim of what you wanted to achieve. Once you achieve that aim, you would feel very disappointed. And that's what Sri Aurobindo says. Every time we realize our desires, we feel disappointed because we realize that actually we wanted to achieve something else. Not that. But with that we thought we would have everything else. But everything else was cut off. So you should not cut off. You should live full life and see what is coming and learn to use all the resources to achieve your aim. I know I am speaking a little bit cryptic because it's a complex vision of fulfillment in life. But slowly you will notice that the best achievement of your goals would be through a content and peaceful being, happy being. If you are a happy being, you will immediately see whether you need that aim or not, that goal or not. Maybe you don't need it if you're content. Maybe you need something totally different. And you will not waste your life achieving some goal which you don't need at the end. Yeah? Disappointing. Yeah, my answer is disappointing. So yeah, I don't need the goal. But when you are content, you will see what you need, and you will see how to achieve it, how to get it in the way that your life will not be broken. It will be happy life every moment, and the achievement will come. Yes, and the energy will be there, and the focus will be there, and the beauty of life will be there. So everything will be there, fulfilled, instead of, cutting off and wanting something so badly that you can't sleep. You can grow in life being content. That's what I wanted to tell. Even better. If you're content, you grow in life better. It's an illusion that somebody grows when he is discontent. You have to be discontent only in one sense, about your capacities. That you have to be discontent. You have to be constantly looking for greater capacity of your consciousness. I know it's a bit evasive. I know what you ask. If you can't do otherwise, you'll be discontent, and it's okay. It's okay to desire. In particular framework, it's okay to have that aim and to want to achieve it and to put everything on the plate to achieve it. It's fine. Yes. But if you can be content and do the same, it is better. It is even better. Right. Okay.
So, yeah, this today actually I'm really interested, Vladimirji. If you can share some notes, because this is directly related to the program which we are doing here in integral education, and you have covered up so well, and I can see lots of scope in many of the slides which you have shared. Like I can see that faculty, all six faculties of consciousness, basically they have so beautifully correspondence with all humanitarian subjects, and
Absolutely.
like there was, I could see psychology, subjective process, I could see thinking, and and then I could see philosophy in that, where you talk about mind, and
Absolutely.
I could see when you talk about signifier and signified. When I was student, I was studying Saussure's theory, where he was talking about signifier and signified linguistic,
Hmm.
So and I really like the idea which you discussed. If we can, I will study it in detail, and I would love to come with number of problems and questions, and where I will request you to answer some of the questions, because it is very important part for us to understand how important it is to develop faculties of consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you see, I have the whole presentation on the disciplines or the subjects of the um, humanities. If you take social sciences and liberal arts, or we call them the humanities. So these you will see that all of them, they are corresponding there, no?
Yeah.
And so if maybe I will project one of these, so it would be kind of visible for you. Only I have to find it because I didn't prepare it for today. Yes, it's absolutely so. And the development of consciousness depends on all these elements. If we want to be holistically developed, yes, we must think into those terms. It can't be done like uh, you cannot be only a linguist. You need to develop a philosophical part, overview of things. You have to develop psychological part. Otherwise, how can you be a linguist? Or you have to. We have to develop all faculties and apply them to different domains. So I have to be a psychologist, a philosopher, linguist, sociologist. I have to be an artist and a scientist.
Yeah.
And if all these faculties are in me well developed and integrally harmonized, then in every of these fields I become more efficient. I become better linguist because I distinguish how linguistics is specifically working and how my philosophical part, I'm not mixing them easily. I am distinguishing them within my faculties, within my consciousness, within the operations of consciousness. So when somebody talks to me, I can immediately hear from what side he is talking, from what perspective. He may speak from the perspective of, vision, of philosophical, and I can argue from the perspective of historical, and we will never match. We will be like going like this, we will never cross. So for us to speak the same language is very important. Or somebody speaks philosophically and the other person argues psychologically, saying, no, no, it's not like that. I know because I have an experience. So this is not an argument. This is a wrong argument because I am choosing another faculty to argue against the other faculty perception. So I have to harmonize them to know how they function, and then I will have never problem with people contributing to some understanding, because I will step immediately into their shoes and use the same faculty and will see clearly what they want to say. Unless, of course, we want to assert ourselves to win the argument, which is very silly. Winning the argument is a very, very silly exercise. You know, Sri Aurobindo has the aphorism, which is very interesting. Or he says, I will paraphrase because I don't remember the exact words. Or you who won the argument, you lost the opportunity to widen your consciousness. The one who wins the argument, he loses the opportunity to see another perspective. I asserted my own argument. I won. Yeah, I am victorious. But you lost the opportunity to see the other point of view. And that's your loss. So winning argument is not the point. Seeing wider, seeing all possible approaches, learning about them, how they function within your consciousness and others, is the way to grow in consciousness and achieve every goal in life. This would be the fulfilling life. Everything what you will achieve will be fulfilling and satisfying.
In our terminology, we talk about multidisciplinarity. So I see that, scope here also.
Yes. Absolutely. It's a interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary and intercultural and multicultural approaches. They're those approaches which are taken lightly because we, truly speaking, do not see the whole set of our engagements of faculties. The beauty of Upanishads is in this, that they offer us the essential faculties which lead us to the essential domains of knowledge. Yeah? So once we see that the domains are connected with the faculties, we can subjectively study the domains. Which we never tried. We tried to study them objectively. I study linguistics or philosophy, but I don't study my consciousness as philosophical approach to knowledge or linguistic approach to knowledge. I do not engage myself subjectively yet, yeah? But this is a high time to do it. Then we will be aware of everything. Once I am aware of my subjective approach, or my, how to say, any philosophical approach, I will understand philosophy. I will open Hegel and I will understand what he is doing, because I know how it is from my side. I am subjectively knowing how to approach it philosophically, and I can see what he does. It's not a difficult anymore reading. It's a pleasant reading. And without that knowledge, Hegel is impossible to read, or Marx, or anybody. It's just so difficult. It's like breaking your head. But once I'm subjectively involved, it is very different. You could immediately see where he is legitimate, where he is doing something not totally legitimate for the philosophical approach, where he is mixing up with sociological, where he is becoming more psychological, and they are doing it quite often. Here he is totally psychological and steps back from philosophical approach for some reason, and you can follow him very easily. The most difficult reading you can follow very easily. The same in every domain. That's what I want to say. Once you engage yourself linguistically and you know how to express yourself, or you know what is the meaning and how the presumption works, how the intention works in the self-expression, the difference between the language and the speech, signified and signifier, becomes a very beautiful and very interesting science, because you are subjectively learning about them, not objectively as concepts which you have to remember, memorize, and speak about without understanding. You have to be constantly engaged in every field, in every subject, and that becomes your life. you learn about your consciousness, yeah? Not about the domains. The domains are the tools for you to learn about yourself. So if you change that direction and become interested in yourself, in your consciousness, then these become very valuable tools. And that's what we have to introduce more and more, because we are entering into the subjective age, as Sri Aurobindo says. Yeah, it's all about learning of our consciousness in a deeper and a more comprehensive way. Okay, I will stop here for now. Yes, I hope it was useful. Thank you for your questions, whoever
Yeah,
asked.
thank you, Vladimirji. Over to you, Deviji.
Yeah, if there is any more question, we can go through that. So student, if you have any more question, you can ask.
I don't think they have question.
Okay.
Okay, then our student like to give you the vote of thanks.
Shri Aurobindo, it's nice.
So
Said that all knowledge is within. And it's interesting how you wrote Aurobindo separately. It's so lovely. It's Auro University, Aurobindo. Then why in today's world we are facing lots of problems and miseries? If every human have already born with the knowledge, then what is the reason and barrier behind miseries? What is the barrier? What is the barrier of all our miseries? Is ignorance. If we would be really aware of our beautiful consciousness and its functionalities, our life would be paradise. There would be no miseries. Every smallest thought, movement, feeling, seeing, any form, hearing, any meaning would create a deeper perception of ourselves. And all the miseries will be gone. Our miseries is within the desires to achieve something which we don't need, actually. And we are running all our life to achieve, to fulfill something which is really not solving our problems, just piling them more and more up. This aggressive way of living through desire. Desire is the problem. The desire to achieve things which we do not need. We are looking for the achievement of our consciousness and happiness in life, in fulfillment in life and growth of consciousness. That should be our object, and not the fulfillment of material needs, because they are, truly speaking, only instrumental. You need some material needs. You need money. You need life, definitely. But that should be instrumental, not an aim in itself. When it becomes aim in itself, it destroys life. It doesn't give anything to life. Sucks it dry, kills it, destroys it. And that's why people who achieved seemingly everything have miserable life. Really miserable in psychological terms. Consumeristic life is not a happy life. It's just a means. We need to fulfill our consciousness. We have to train the faculties, engage in life, with life in conscious terms. This is, I think, the answer. Once you have that development, once you feel that you progress every day, that your consciousness grows, your understanding grows, you will be happy. Whatever conditions you have around, anything makes you happy. And you can see sometimes there's happy people who do not have much in life, but that little they have is really fulfilling. And can you imagine you have much, and it can be even more fulfilling. I don't want to sound spiritualistically only, but consciousness is what we are here for. We have to grow in consciousness. That is the means for our happiness. Great. Okay, thank you for your questions. And thank you
Chandan, you
for...
can unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to thank everyone for their attention and presence during this session. I would like to thank the speakers for giving us the insightful and the precious knowledge on the ancient and the modern synthesis of knowledge. And now I would like to give sincere respects to Dr. Vladimir for making us realize about the pure and the true knowledge, which is not somewhere outside but within us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So, namaste. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Bye.